Dortie of the Royal Australian Air Force Nursing Service was assigned to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp to provide relief for Holocaust survivors. She preserved her experience in hundreds of letters, which contain passages like this, quote, "On arrival at Bergen-Belsen, the prisoners lay in the open and were beaten with iron bars. The witness's friend was in bed 3 days as a result of these beatings. The only reason for this treatment," she wrote, "was that they were Jews. The only reason for this treatment is that they were Jews." Yesterday, Jews around the world observed Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. I spoke at Temple Emmanuel in New York about it. This year, Yom HaShoah comes at an especially painful moment for the Jewish people. 7 months ago, over 1,200 innocents were brutally murdered by Hamas in the worst attack against Jews since the Holocaust. In the months since, anti-Semitism has swept our country and the world in ways not seen in generations. Sadly, we see the poison of anti-Semitism amidst some of the protests happening on the college campuses today. This unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism is why I came to the Senate floor last November to speak at length about the fear that has been growing in the hearts and minds of every Jewish person since October 7th. I believe we all have an obligation to call out anti-Semitism wherever we see it arise, be it from the right or from the left. As I forcefully said in my speech, if anti-Semitism is not repudiated, if it isn't forcefully called out whenever and wherever it arises, it'll metastasize into something worse. That was what I wanted to emphasize in my speech. So today I applaud President Biden for taking another strong, decisive step to fight anti-Semitism at the federal level, with new steps aimed at fighting anti-Semitism in our communities, online, and towards Jewish students. Among other actions, the President has directed the Department of Education to issue new guidance for college campuses to protect Jewish students and students of all backgrounds, so that our universities remain safe havens to learn and grow. When a Jewish student cannot walk through their quad without fear of harassment or ridicule or something far worse, we have a duty to respond. When swastikas are spray-painted on Jewish gravestones and bomb threats made against synagogues, it demands action from the government to keep people safe. If never forget is to have any meaning, all of us must own the duty of combating anti-Semitism together at every level of society. Here in the Senate, I will continue to work with Democrats and Republicans to protect Jewish synagogues, schools, and organizations of all kinds from violence and hate. It's why I fought to increase the nonprofit security program, which provides money for synagogues and shuls and schools and other nonprofit religious organizations, whether they be Christian, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, or anything else, to protect themselves against vandalism and violence and all forms of hate. As I said in my speech on the floor last November, the best way we can work together against anti-Semitism is to preserve the history of the Jewish experience, to tell the truth about the horrors that took place 80 years ago. Only then can we truly honor the memories of the innocent dead. Only then we can be sure that the torturer never tortures again. Now on the border. Mr. President, precisely 3 months ago, something truly stunning happened here on the Senate floor. Senate Republicans filibustered the strongest, most comprehensive border security bill Congress has seen in a generation. They did it for one reason only: Donald Trump, hell-bent on using the border for political gain, told them to do so. The situation at the border is unacceptable. Everyone knows that. Senate Democrats know it, the President knows it, and the American people know it too. So a few months ago, as senators worked on the supplemental, Democrats tried to find a long-sought solution to America's broken immigration system. Again, Democrats have made clear the situation at the border is unacceptable. That's why for months we sat down with Republicans to craft the strongest border security bill in a generation, endorsed by the Border Patrol Union, very conservative. I salute Senators Murphy and Sinema and Langford for working so hard on that bill. But Donald Trump told Republicans to kill the bill because, and he was explicit, he wants to exploit the chaos at the border for political gain. He even said, quote, "Blame it, please, blame it on me." He explicitly took credit for this tough border bill to go down, a bill that the Wall Street Journal editorial page called a border bill worth passing. They're horribly left-wing liberals. That the Chamber of Commerce said was a common-sense measure, and which the president of the National Border Patrol Council called far better than the status quo, unquote. You'd think, given the chance to pass the strongest border bill in decades, that Republicans would have pounced at the opportunity. After all, how many times have we heard our Republican colleagues give speeches here on the floor about the emergency at the border? How many times have we heard Republicans say year after year that Congress must act? How many times have we seen Republicans take field trips down to the border, taking pictures with the fence towering behind them, while bemoaning that the problem's only getting worse? Apparently, that was all for show, because precisely 3 months ago, right here on the floor, Senate Republicans, in obeisance to Donald Trump, and I believe many of them knew he was wrong, but Senate Republicans on the Senate floor killed the best chance we've seen in decades to provide a solution to the border. It's pretty simple. Republicans can't say that the border is an emergency, but then refuse to take action. Republicans cannot claim to care about fixing asylum, but then block the biggest changes to asylum law in decades. Republicans cannot claim to care about our Border Patrol agents, but then deprive them of the very tools and funding the Border Patrol has been asking for. Our Republican colleagues may have given up on taking real action on the border, but Democrats have not. Democrats will make it clear which party is working to fix our broken border and which party is conspiring to make the border worse. We will challenge our Republican colleagues to join us once again on the border reforms Americans demand, to stop the flow of fentanyl, to improve asylum and vetting, and to assure our border agents have the tools that they need. On the FAA. This week, the Senate will continue working on the FAA reauthorization. The deadline is 3 days away. It's going to take a lot of cooperation to get this complicated bill done. Thankfully, we've made some good progress over the last few days on germane amendments, and we hope to finish our work in time for the House to act on our bill. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to prioritize reaching an outcome so we prevent slipping past the deadline. Finally, on Social Security. Yesterday, a new report showed the strengths of Social Security and Medicare. A new report showed the strengths of Social Security and Medicare have improved because of the economic upswing we're seeing under President Biden. The New York Times headline said, quote, "Strong labor markets steadied Social Security and Medicare funds." But yesterday's report came with a warning. Social Security and Medicare still face long-term challenges to solvency. The lives of tens of millions could be thrown into chaos if these programs are not protected. So let's not forget, Mr. President, that year after year, Republicans have made clear where they stand. Instead of working with Democrats to strengthen Social Security and Medicare, they want to put them on the chopping block. A little over a month ago, Donald Trump said on the campaign trail, quote, "There is a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting." Around the same time, the Republican Study Committee, which represents 80% of all House Republicans, called for $1.5 trillion in cuts to Social Security and raising the retirement age to 67. Donald Trump didn't hesitate to give tax cuts to the ultra-rich and large corporations. But he thinks, quote, "There's a lot you can do," unquote, to, quote, "cut programs that millions of American families rely on every single day." That's beyond callous. It's just wrong-headed, hurts people a lot. The difference between Democrats and hard-right Republicans couldn't be more stark. This year, we'll make sure the American people know it. I yield the floor and note the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.